Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Lucas and welcome back to the show. Today, I know it's been a long time since I've done something like this. I've been doing a lot of stuff on Twitch and live streaming and then just kind of uploading stuff, but San Diego Studios, just actually at this point, about a month ago, released their next title in the MLB The Show franchise, and I want to give my thoughts on the game after playing it for, like I said, for about a month. But before we hop in, I want to mention that this is still pretty early in the game cycle. So there's probably still things with the game that I haven't missed, good and bad, and I will end up running into later. So if I did miss something that I haven't run into, sorry. But I think overall I have a pretty good understanding of how the game looks and how it feels. And also, unlike Madden, MLB The Show has a great base game that doesn't need overhauled game to game. So many of the things that I praise may not be new, but things I have to mention when talking about the game. So let's hop into, obviously, the most important part of any game, the cover. Okay, obviously, I'm kidding, but the cover for this game is fantastic. A far cry from where they were in 2018. In my opinion, it's the best cover they've had ever. It is very debatable because I think some of the earlier ones are really interesting and really fun to look at too. And obviously, they started kind of getting an actual good cover last year with MLB The Show 21 and with Tatis. And hopefully they keep it up from year to year. I think it's really interesting. So now, after talking about that, I just wanted to mention that a little bit. We can now actually move into the most important part of any game, the gameplay. So, in my opinion, I think MLB The Show has always had a fairly good game when it comes to gameplay. Right? I think it works. I think last couple of years they've focused on a lot of good small kind of updates. They haven't had, like I said, because they have a pretty good base game. They don't have to overhaul things from year to year, and they've been adding smaller things to help. The first thing that they started on last year was adding movement updates, so the way people go for the ball, the way they read it off the wall and stuff like that. I think overall it's fantastic. There are a couple of times they get stuck in animations and they miss a ball they probably should have gotten to. And other times they get stuck in animation and maybe they weren't ever going to get to it. Maybe that's on me. I don't really know. But either way, for the most part, it's very good. The perfect mechanic, I think, is a very good thing when it comes to hitting and pitching. The pinpoint pitching, I think, is really good for competitive play to get to the top tier. The one gripe I've seen with it, and I can kind of understand where they're coming from, is that with pinpoint pitching, you can pretty much put it wherever you want, even on the hardest difficulty, if you really are that good. But at the same time, when you're looking at competitive play, I think that's what you want. And you're going to have to have guys that are able to hit the ball. Now, when it comes to just like casual competitive play, there is that too, but I think at the end of the day, I think it's a really good thing for people that really want to be good at the game. And like pinpoint pitching, I don't remember when perfect was added. That may have been last year, or I think it was at least 2 years ago, but I'm not exactly sure. But I know pinpoint pitching was a thing that was added last year, and I think, like I said, it's really good for the game going forward, in my opinion. So I don't know. So the next thing that they added actually this year was the PCI anchor. Fantastic, right? I think it's a great thing to add. You don't have to use it if you don't want to. You can use it if you think it's going to help you. And then the other thing that they added that I know they talked about or they emphasized was tweaking how pitches are hit out of the zone. Now, I haven't really noticed too much of a difference from when I've been playing, but they have said that it is harder to hit them when they are outside of the zone, and it does shorten. The actual PCI thing does shorten. However, I don't know how much it affects it, right? Like I said, they seem to make it seem like it helps a lot, and I think to a point it does, because like I said, I think it shortens it at least a little bit, so if you are not in that zone, you're not going to get as clean of a hit as you would have last year, but at the end of the day, it's a good start, and they can always change it from year to year depending on what's going on. So, next thing to talk about is the new broadcast team. I mean, change is always good. I think they probably could have had a system like 2K where they had both sets of commentators. I don't know. I don't really know. Like, maybe they just didn't want to have to go into that paying wise. At the end of the day, I think they're a really good duo, and they've worked a lot together in real life, and I think that adds to it. The issue, the biggest issue I have with it is the fact that they say the same thing almost every single game. Because with baseball, it's a lot different from like football and basketball, where you have a lot of downtime, or you don't have a lot of downtime in basketball and football, and you are basically just calling the game. In baseball, there's a lot of downtime. You have to have these stories or different anecdotes and whatnot, and they use a lot of the same antidotes in that downtime. I'm hoping this is just a first-year issue and they can kind of add more to their list of sayings as the years go on. But that is one thing that has taken me out of the game, is the fact that I hear almost the same thing at least every other game, if not every single game. So, whenever you hit like a home run or something like that, or you hit a game winner, whatever, a lot of the things are different, right? They get those stuff right, but like I said, once you're in the downtime, you get a lot of the same stuff. So, like I said, hopefully it changes hopefully they add to it next year. Online co-op, probably something that should have been in the game before this year. It's fantastic, right? It's really fun. You can get a buddy or a couple of buddies to come in. You can play together. You can play against other people online. It's a lot of fun. So obviously, if you really look at the game is clearly made in conjunction with the PlayStation, because the PS5 controller adds like this great element of like the rumble function and the trigger, the adaptive triggers add a lot to it, and that's a great element. So the game is probably best played on PlayStation, but if you have Game Pass, which with Xbox Live, it's pretty much like $5 extra. I know a lot of people have it. It's free with Game Pass, so you have that little side-by-side. And also, they actually added it to Switch this year. I haven't tried it. I feel like it's going to be similar to the Xbox One and PS4 edition, I would assume. I don't think it has the capabilities of an Xbox Series X or PS5. I haven't tried it, so you can go watch something else to get a true idea of what that's gonna be like. But it will be mobile, so I think it probably at the end of the day would be worth it if you liked to do that. Like I said, game is fun. Small tweaks here and there definitely need to be made when it comes to gameplay. Game is a lot of fun. Competitively, it's a lot of fun. I think at the end of the day, you want to pick up a baseball game and play it with your friends. I mean, this does a great job with it, right? This does a great job with it. So that's kind of my take on the gameplay. Now we can move over to what I play the most, March to October and franchise. These game modes are very similar, but they give you very different experiences. So let's start with March to October. This is a very fun game mode, and they're making it better and better year by year. When they first introduced it, and they were talking about how this is how they wanted to build this new way to play franchise, I didn't think it was going to go anywhere, right? I thought it was going to be kind of the same thing, but they have legitimately continued year after year to make this a game mode worth playing. It's pretty deep. It has a really good trade system. At the end of the day, it allows you to play with your team. It is very hard to really cheese. Really good trade system. And it's had a good trade system for a couple of years, and it's been a fun experience for a couple of years. But this is the first year it has been a multi-year experience. But we'll get into that in a minute. The one issue that MTO has is injured players before the season, because the way MLB The Show works with their injured players throughout the season, like on their main roster, is they put them in AAA. They don't put them on an injured list. They just put them in AAA. So, for instance, a player like Ronald Acuna, he's in AAA. He's not considered injured. He's just in AAA. And you don't have full control of who you call up in March to October. So these injured players will start in the minors, and there's not really a way to bring them up unless you get the option. So, like I was saying with Acuna, he's out for a month, but they may not let you call him up all year, depending on just if you're lucky or not. That being said, in the instance with the Cardinals, because this is the first team I played with, it actually kind of worked in a way. Flaherty didn't come up until, I want to say, probably a month before the trade deadline, which in my opinion is a pretty likely time frame for him. And Alex Reyes didn't come back until like a month before the playoffs. And I think, like I said, for him, again, that's kind of a similar timeline. And so it was kind of interesting. It kind of actually worked in a weird way. Now, obviously, for most injured players, you have a player like, I don't really know, like those are really the only examples. But again, Acuna could be out for who's coming back like May 7th, I think is his targeted date. He may not be up all year if you choose the Braves. So again, they kind of break the mode, but since it is multi-year this year, it doesn't completely ruin the experience. So in past years, and I can't be for sure this year, and they haven't announced it or anything, but in past years, rosters didn't update. Like, I get it. Like, you start at the beginning of the year. You want the rosters to stay the same. But in past years, it had pushed me away from the mode later, like in the real season. I just didn't really want to play it. I just wanted to play with like the updated rosters. I'm not sure if they're going to do that this year, but they did give an update on opening day, because the first time I played March to October with the Cardinals, Albert wasn't on the team. Second time, he was. Like I said, I'm not sure if they're going to continue to do it. They didn't like announce they were going to at all, but if they do, I think that would add an interest. I think you should probably have a system where you either say, do you want to start from the beginning? Do you want to start the rosters from the beginning of the year? Or do you want to start current rosters? I think they should add that. I do. But at the end of the day, the mode's still a lot of fun. Now, as I've been mentioning, it's multi-year this year. And the free agent system is actually a lot of fun. It is actually invested. It works. It makes sense. It feels a lot more like real free agency than the current way free agency works in the franchise mode, which I think is very intriguing, and I think they did a really good job with that. The one issue I have with multi-year is that you don't get an option to like re-sign players during the year. You have to re-sign them during free agency, which again I like. You know, it's like I did one with the Royals, and Andrew Benintendi had this crazy year where he was. They don't show awards at the end of the year, which is another thing I wish they would add. But he was pretty much competing for an MVP, right? And while it was a little bit off because I ended up winning the World Series because I played on a pretty easy difficulty for me, he ended up not re-signing. But it was, like I said, it was really interesting because like you start with an extended, or you start with a little bit of a lead whenever they were on your team, assuming that I guess they were happy or whatnot. I don't know. And like it was really intriguing because it got down to the last second. It's like, oh, he chose to sign with another team, and it worked, and it was a lot of fun. But I wish there was an option to like, if a player is intrigued with re-signing or signing a big deal, I wish they would give you that option. Right? I wish they would give you that option throughout the year before the season ended, because I think that would add another layer of things to the game. I really hope that's something they add next year. I think for me, like an interesting idea would be like, hey, you have a couple of players that want to re-sign, but you only have enough money to sign one of them. Which one do you want to sign to a long-term deal now, and which one do you want to target or potentially target in the offseason? And you can choose to sign one of them or neither, or maybe if you have a certain amount of money, you like choose between 3 or 4 players. I don't know, but like I think it would be an interesting, like I said, just another interesting thing to add to the game, and I hope that's something they look at next year. And then finally, you get rewards for Diamond Dynasty. This year, you just get XP to. It just says featured program, which right now is just the Faces of the Franchise program. I don't know how it's going to change throughout the year, but it's a nice little extra to the game mode that I would play even if it didn't give rewards for Diamond Dynasty. So it's just a little bit extra. Next, shifting to the franchise mode, it's still very similar to what it has been in years past. In my opinion, I still think the player progression and player value system is one of the best in sports video games, if not the best. I think the progression system bases a lot on how the player actually plays is very good. Now, it doesn't work all the time. I know some players, they get better even if they don't play good enough, but there are a lot of times when a player just doesn't play well and they won't upgrade. Or someone that plays very well will continue to get better. I don't have really a good example so far from playing this year, but I know in one of the years past games, I had J.P. Crawford, or I didn't have him. J.P. Crawford in my league, he was competing for an MVP all of a sudden. And typically J.P. Crawford is like an 82, 83 overall, and that's where he'll stay for the most part, depending on how he plays or whatnot. But in this league, he was getting up to like a 91, 92. It was accurately showing how he was playing, and that's something, like I said, it does really well. The one issue with the player progression system is old players decrease in ability very fast, but that's something you could probably, if you wanted to, you could go in and fix yourself, but that is one thing that they decrease very, very fast. I think that's something they need to work on overall, but overall, the player progression system works very well. They updated the trade system, and it's better than it was last year. It's still finicky, it's still kind of easy to play, easy to trick a little bit, but it's very tricky to get a trade system right, because player values change so much year to year, and they do a pretty good job at doing it, right? And, you could probably see, I wish there were a couple of ways, they were talking about not wanting teams, they wanted to, make more clear what teams were competing and how they would trade. It still is kind of finicky. It's not great overall, but at the end of the day, it works. And if you want it to work even better, you can kind of like step in yourself and be like, okay, that trade doesn't seem very fair. It doesn't seem like it would make sense, so I'm not going to actually make that deal. And you look at something else that does make a little bit more sense. Another thing they mentioned is that they updated how players sign in the offseason. So far, from what I've seen, it looks like it's working a little bit more realistically. I haven't had like a super long franchise yet, so I don't know how it affects like a franchise that goes really deep. But at the end of the day, I think it looks like it's doing a lot. It looks like it's being a lot more realistic than it has been in years past. Huge thing, two-way players finally work. Basically, it's just Shohei, and maybe that'll change in the future. But right now, it's just Shohei, and you can't really get any two-way players. I haven't seen any, at least. Like, so far, I haven't seen any come through the draft. But Shohei works this year. Like, that's huge. Shohei finally works this year. Shohei will have Shohei will hit like Shohei, and Shohei will pitch like Shohei, and it's great. Like, because in years past, it would never work. This year, it finally works. So that's huge. One huge thing that I'm still upset about is you still can't use the depth chart. Why? They added this depth chart in last year, and it seemed like, oh, this is huge, because you can finally decide where do you want your backups to play, where do you want them to get most of their innings at whenever they come in. You still can't use it. It's just for effect, and it makes me really upset. It was something that I was like, oh, it's going to give me so much more control, and I love it, and they just didn't allow you to use it. It's just there to show you what your team will look like next year. Like, it's cool. It could be so much more functional, and they didn't fix it this year, and I'm really upset. Overall, like I said, franchise doesn't need an overhaul. It needs, obviously it needs more. It needs some fixes. But it's tough. It's good. I wish there was a way for them to get a March to October similarity when it comes to like off-season into franchise, but it is very tough because while March to October's off-season is fun, it is very limiting. Like, you can't go in nearly as much as you can in a normal franchise. So, like I said, it's give and take. I think both of them are worth playing, even separately. I've done multiple franchises, and I've done multiple March to Octobers. And like I said, I've had fun playing all of it. So at the end of the day, March to October has had huge upgrades and is continually upgraded and is continuing to look like it's going to be upgraded. While franchise mode, while I still think it's fun, it still needs some work, obviously. But at the end of the day, both of them are very fun. Shifting over to Diamond Dynasty, I'm not a big Ultimate Team player. For 2K, I usually just play it to kill time. I've never really played it in Madden, mostly because it's pay to win. Sometimes sometimes in Madden I'll hop in and do some challenges just to have a little bit of fun. But at the end of the day, like I said, not a big Ultimate Team player. However, I do love me some Diamond Dynasty. It is by far the best Ultimate Team. It is early game, it can be pay to win, especially with like the very good live cards. But at the end of the day, the best cards in the game that will come out don't need to be bought with money. You can just, most of the best cards in the game, you can just earn through challenges and stuff, or you can earn packs that will then get you those cards. At the end of the day, if you don't want to spend money on Diamond Dynasty, you can still have a really good team. My team last year, in fact, no money spent on here. All three. I think I took pictures of my main team, my Just Cardinals team, and my live team, and they're up there somewhere, hopefully. No money spent on any of these guys. I spent some money early in the game, and I didn't even really end up getting that much. And like I said, by the end of the game, there was no reason to even spend any money. So like I said, it is very good. The gameplay is fun. It is not super cheesy. There are times whenever, like I said, it's like, how does that even happen? But at the end of the day, it doesn't seem very cheesy. Biggest issue with Diamond Dynasty is that there's still no DH, so you still have your pitcher hitting. I'm assuming that's going to change. I hope it's going to change next year, or even maybe they get an update for this year where there's no more pitchers hitting. So a huge addition they have is mini seasons. I think that's going to be really fun, especially later in the game whenever my team is a little bit better and maybe I don't want to play online. I just want to chill and play with my teams and just play some mini seasons. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. The supercharge system looks very interesting if done right. Obviously, it's early in the year, and I haven't really kept up too much with how it's working, but like I said, it looks really interesting. And I love the way they keep the live cards fun, you can just have a live team and see how players are doing. I don't know. They continue to upgrade these cards as they go throughout the year, and I know 2K has done something similar this year, so I don't know. Like I said, Diamond Dynasty, I think, in my opinion, is by far the best Ultimate Team system game. They haven't changed a bunch. I don't think they're doing the inning programs anymore. It seems like they're just doing a different main program, and then maybe it'll change throughout the year. Who knows? Maybe they end up going back and doing a first inning program and then going through after they're done with this feature program. But at the end of the day, a lot of fun if you want it to be. You don't have to play it if you don't want to, but I think it works as a Diamond Dynasty, or as an Ultimate Team system, and it works very well. Finally, Road to the Show. It hasn't really changed much this year. So, like I said, progression system is still great. It doesn't take stubs, it doesn't take VC or whatever. It just simply, you get better as you play. You get better as you play better. You can upgrade your guy with equipment, which I think is a really good way. The loadout system, it seems to work. I like it. It seems to be a fun way to be able to change your character as you go through. You don't have to stick to one thing. And the loadout system really works whenever you want, if you want to use your guy in Diamond Dynasty, because in the ball player system, you can use your guy in a Diamond Dynasty if you want to. The podcast, it seems fun, right? It's a little fun thing to add. I love that you can be a two-way player if you want, or you can be a pitcher, you can be a hitter, whatever. You can play any position you want. It's great. The mode is fun, and it's very bare bones, but I think it being bare bones allows you to create your own story, or just mindlessly play through it as you go, however you want it to be. And, there's no cringy story. Not even pointing my finger at 2K this year, because 2K's story, in my opinion, was actually kind of good this year. So, they didn't force a story down your throat that they didn't want, but they allow you to kind of build your own story if you want, or you can just play and do your own thing. It's fun. It is a fun game mode, and it works. If you want more, I don't know. It's tough, because if you add more to that, it's not going to please everyone. I think it works as is, and like I said, the progression system, like I've said with franchise, it's great because it is very much based on how you play, is how you upgrade. That works very well for the Road to the Show. It works very well for a career, right? So at the end of the day, it's a fun game mode. It's nothing to call home about, but it is a fun game mode that gets you through if you want, or like I said, you can dive deep into it if you want to. So San Diego Studios, they delivered a fun and great game in MLB The Show 22. I mean, there's still issues, obviously, but at least from what I've seen, there's nothing in there that gets in the way of having a good time. As I mentioned, it's on Game Pass for Xbox, and it's definitely worth the download, but I would say it's worth the money for PlayStation and maybe even the Switch. They seem to actually care about the game and community and not about microtransactions and everything, and they continue to upgrade the game year to year, and in my opinion, that makes it worth buying. Anyway, guys, that's going to do it for me. If you did enjoy, leave a like, subscribe if you want to see more. Check out my Twitch. It'll be in the description of this video. That's where I do most of my gaming from now on, so like I said, if you want to watch me game, check that out. And until next time, this is Lucas signing off, and I'll see you guys later.